Our Lord Jesus, who is our good shepherd, from a deep compassion, concern for us, his followers, his disciples, he cautions us. And he says, "Beware that your hearts do not become drowsy." What leads our hearts to become drowsy? To become like clouded, distracted, to the point that we may miss the coming of our Lord. This is such an important question for each of us to ask, to sit with. In particular, as we begin this new year here with Advent, what causes my heart to become drowsy, asleep to God and to his plan, his expectations for my life, the responsibilities I have to those entrusted to my care who surround me? This question is so important because this is a time for us Christians, the time for new resolutions, New Year's resolutions in this new church year. Advent is here. Christ does arrive daily into our lives. And finally, on the last day, he will arrive for us to stand before him. And he's asking us, cautioning us to be ready. And so he gives that instruction: beware that your hearts do not become drowsy. Do we have an idea of what perhaps poor habits or environments we allow ourselves to be in that cause our heart to be drowsy to God, and to holy things? In the gospel, Jesus instructs his disciples away from these particular areas. It's a lifestyle of carousing, drunkenness, and being caught up in the anxieties of daily life. To turn away from these things for the sake of our hearts, in order to live, more calm, more trusting, more responsive to God and others. So to turn away from these sort of unhealthy lifestyles or habits, and then ask, like in this season, not that I just turn away from, but what and who do I turn towards? What sort of habits or environment to strive to adopt? That word Advent, it means arrival, to come towards. And that is what Christ each and every day does. He comes to us. But we need to be disposed to recognize, to receive him, to not crowd out Christ's coming with different noise, distraction, drowsiness within ourselves. So I think of turning away from carousing. What is the sort of character of carousing? It's being like in the middle of the noise, being surrounded by this sort of carelessness in a crowd of noise. The opposite is to create an environment that preserves quiet, stillness. Is that a part of my daily life? To allow my heart to find quiet and stillness. Here's one, he calls it the classroom of silence. Do I have that? Do I go there into silence? And then the anxieties of daily life, being caught up. What is to turn away from anxieties of this world? The opposite is to turn towards a hope in our God. And what he has accomplished, is accomplishing, and is able. That requires turning our eyes, our heart, our direction heavenward. Heavenward. And doesn't that sound attractive? Like what we want, to be able to foster within ourselves this sort of calmness, this quiet, this trusting peace of soul. I mean, that's what I long for. And the church gives us this new year on this wonderful season to strive. So the next 4 weeks are an invitation for that. To create some resolves, often like we do during Lent. For me, I know, what does that mean? What crowds my heart? What can rile up anxiety? Bring distractedness, lethargicness? Is one, the more I distance myself from Christ in the sacrament of reconciliation, the more I distance myself, the more kind of numb or lethargic I can become in my heart. So Advent's a wonderful season to make a reconciliation. But then further, I know for me personally, unnecessary information and content, amusement and noise. For me, it's going to YouTube, and how I can just be brought into this distraction, unnecessary information, or content that can take me away from recognizing God in my daily life. How about our conversations? Like the content of our conversations. Do they sometimes go into areas that are unhealthy, unnecessary to go? And it can become this noise that prevents us from thinking about, speaking about, and recognizing God here today. How about, turning away from that, turning towards, it's like healthy conversation, speaking about God, our faith, looking into holy reading, good reading, because Advent is here. And Christ, in fact, does come into our lives right now. And one day, ultimately, he will come on the last day. And he's asking us to be ready. So for us to ask, how will we keep our hearts from falling asleep and ready to receive him?